We're back.
We're back.
We are back and live here with the Windows Azure Love for the IT Pros Jumpstart.
I am Thing One.
And I'm Mr. T. Because I pity the fool who be Thing One, all right? Because, there was a little bit, Mr. T-shirt right there, there was a little bit, I felt a little bit threatened, with your Thing 2 comments, and there may have been also even some confusion between Thing 1 and Thing 2. Well, let that
No
be
confusion
solved.
now.
No confusion now, Mr. T.
No.
David Tessar, Mr. T, up in here.
David T.
David T. I pity the foos who not keep watching us right now because you need to stay with us here, all right?
I pity
we
the
got
fools
3 more
who
modules.
had to sit through
and we're
all
gonna power through these guys, and we're gonna give you a lot of good info here, all right?
We're going to do all 3 modules at the same time.
I don't know what you'd be talking about, Thing One. All right.
Get going.
All right, let's go. All right, come on. Kick me over here. All right, there we go. Monitoring. We are going to talk about monitoring. There's a number of different areas that monitoring comes up with Windows Azure. System Center Operations Manager has a few connection points, and System Center Advisor, loosely related, but we'll dig into that here now. For monitoring Windows Azure with System Center Operations Manager, there's really 2 major things to think about. One, again, we're going to keep hitting on this point. Monitoring a VM or infrastructure as a service is really no different than you would monitor any other virtual machine, in which case you probably just want to install the SCOM agent on it so you can get all of that rich information that you need that's already available through System Center Operations Manager. The thing where it gets new is in this PaaS space. We have a management pack for Windows Azure that attaches onto System Center Operations Manager. And what you can do is monitor your PaaS instances as well as some of the things for your fabric on Windows Azure. For instance,
What's fabric?
Fabric. It's clothing that you put on yourself. And just like, see, I've got some fabric here, some Mr. T fabric that is very high available and resilient.
There's a word to describe you right now in my head.
Oh, no. I don't know if I want to know. I was
just doing my term alert, and we said fabric, and I'm not quite sure we explained.
We
that.
didn't really. Okay, you put your trainer hat on.
Yes, I did.
And as Mr. T, I got to represent.
Yep.
Fabric. I'm talking about all of the things, so it can relate to you. All the things that all of these services run on top of, like is this PaaS instance up and running?
Yeah.
Perhaps, right? Can I validate that? So hopefully that's close enough. And I'll show you more of that, right? It's a little hard to tell you all of the things that it does. We're going to show you that here in a second. So let's keep going with this monitoring Windows Azure applications. Right? You've got a number of different things here. How does this really work? On-premise for Operations Manager, you have performance data, events, logs, all that goodness. It then goes to this table and it reads the apps, roles, and structure that's up there through the Windows Azure Service API. And on the other side, the Windows Azure applications, workers, web roles, whatnot, goes to this table storage in Windows Azure that the Azure Service API has access to. So the SCOM monitoring is able to look at the API and read the data from the table storage that's up there.
So the SCOM, is that how I say it?
The SCOM,
SCOM.
You know what, those people probably, Operations Manager.
Operations Manager.
System Center 2012 Operations Manager
I'm not saying
would be
all
the
that.
proper term.
The SCOM
The SCOM, the Thing 1 SCOM
uses
stuff.
the same API as the PowerShell tools, as the portal, and as all the third-party tools.
Yeah.
So it's accessing all the same things. It can get the status of VMs and storage and all that kind of thing. And then all of the other things go into Windows Azure Storage. So any tools that can read the storage can pull out the logs and all that kind of thing, right?
Right.
So you can get at all this raw data. We've just made it easy.
That's right. We made it easier for you to pull out. System Center Operations Manager 2012 SP1 is our tool that we have to help surface that, or one of the tools in your tool shed, so to speak. The other nice thing that you have.
SCOMSPA.
So here we have Operations Manager, the console diagram view, and the thing I want to stress here is the fact that because, Operations Manager is typically for on-premise, but you can monitor it across both Windows Azure and on-premise and have a single console to monitor everything that you need to in one place. There's also another attachment onto Operations Manager called Global Service Monitoring, or GSM for short. And here, there's a scenario where in Visual Studio you could put in a web test and for your application, put that into Operations Manager, and then that web test and schedule goes up to our Global Service Monitor in Windows Azure, which is across our data centers around the world. That is then going to go and do those tests against the application that happens to be there wherever you happen to have it. It could be on-premise, it could be in Windows Azure, but that is Global Service Monitor is being utilized. So you instantly can go where your data center can't, right? So see that? Did you see that marketing kind of lingo? Did you like that? No?
No, it wasn't very good.
No, it's Mr. T doesn't do marketing lingo.
Thing one doesn't either.
So yeah. All right.
I'm opening Visual Studio ready for my demo.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well then. Oh, okay. Never mind. No, I'm not going to do that. Production application gives you the exclamation point. It's all broken. No, the app is busted. The magical black box of badness goes up to Global Service Monitor and goes back into Operations Manager. So now you can realize that that application is having problems, and your developer guy, you can give him the black exclamation point and say, look, see this black exclamation point? Your code is messed up and you need to fix it. Right? That's how you need to do it. We also have this points of presence around the world that you can test with, right? In this dashboard here, it gives you fancy graph views of where the status is in these points around the world. With that, enough slides, because I've had enough of the slides. We're going to dig into what that looks like in reality for monitoring Windows Azure.
Sounds good.
Mr. T don't like no slides.
No.
All right.
Thing 2 did.
Yeah.
That's
right. That thing too. It's old news.
Horrible.
Old news. That's right. The first thing that we're going to show here is the stuff you just get right out the bat. It's not listed there. I know we were talking about Operations Manager, but when you scroll over to what I have here in the console, one of the things you might start to notice is, hey, I've got this monitor tab in Windows Azure. Well, that is useful for folks, and you get that free out of the box. And what I wanted to dig into here is some of the customizations you might be able to make. The default here is relative. Sometimes that's useful, but for instance, what you might want to know is something like, hey, was my app over the past 24 hours or 7 days, this is as high as you can go with this version, what is the maximum amount of CPU usage, perhaps, that the application had? And instead of it being relative, I want the absolute, right? And this could be, it becomes, when you go to absolute, obviously it also can be bad, but what you'll want to do is take some of these metrics out, perhaps, right? So if we go down here at the bottom, what you can see is the ability to add or delete metrics depending on what you want. What I'll do is I don't care about anything else other than CPU. I don't want network. I don't want disk reads, disk bytes, right? I just want the raw CPU, and there we have, well, an underwhelming 3.16% on my on my DSC. But that may be a flag for me to say, hey, maybe I need the extra small instance because I'm not really using that small one or whatever that instance is in my environment. The other thing that I want to point out here is that you have, and it is in preview at this time, but you have the ability to add monitoring endpoints in your application. And what you'll notice here is under configuration, you have the ability for these endpoints to add specific things you want to monitor. So if we look down here, you get 2 endpoints and up to 3 locations per endpoint at this time of what you want to monitor. Okay. What I will do is I'll just add another one. I'll just say basic HTTP, and default it puts in tester.cloudapp.net. That's fine. And what I'll do is I have the ability to test across a subset of some of the locations in the world. I'll just pick, I don't know, Hong Kong and Virginia. Why not? Click Save. And now that's going to show up inside of the monitoring endpoints here. And you have the ability to see what kind of response times have you been getting across all of these endpoints inside of your environment. In this case, I've got one that's got data for me, but you can see the milliseconds of response inside of the web console. Useful, right?
That's pretty cool. It gives you some basic KPIs on your app, right?
Yeah, it gives you some really kind of a quick glance view of things when you happen to be in the console and you want to look at things within a 24-hour or even a 1-week range, right? Quick and dirty, easy, gets it visible for you pretty quickly. For some of the other folks who are more serious right now, you're going to probably start to want some of the capabilities that Operations Manager has, because all this is really doing is saying, hey, here's your stats or response time, your compute usage. That's kind of it. You can't really take actions on it. You can only keep that data for 7 days, and there's no alerts or anything like that are there for you. It's just, let me take a quick peek, right? So with that, we'll switch over to the Operations Manager machine that I have, and we'll take a peek at what that looks like for the management pack for Windows Azure on Operations Manager. This is it's just so easy to explain. Yes. It really is pretty simple. Once you download it, you install the management pack. You're going to go into administration, and under administration, what you'll do is specify under this Windows Azure section, you'll specify a subscription. Okay, so here you can see I've got a couple of my Windows Azure subscriptions already added, right? And if we go into add a subscription, it's really pretty basic. It wants the subscription number and then a certificate. Remember, from the get-go, we mentioned certificates is the way that a lot of these other services like System Center have the ability to connect and pull resources from Windows Azure services. Really, this is it. It's 3 forms. Proxy agent if you need for communication purposes, things to channel appropriately, but that's it, right? You specify these 3 things. Now it is connected. The subscription has the ability inside of Windows Azure to see those things. After that, though, right, all you've really done is allow it to kind of pull, to have the ability to connect those resources. From there, you're going to want to go in and set up a authoring for a management pack. And in this case, I've set up already a Windows Azure monitoring template for the Cloud Shop monitoring. And what this is doing is saying, hey, here's the cloud services that I want to attempt to monitor inside my environment, and here's the virtual machines, the storage accounts that I may want to monitor inside of Operations Manager. Because you could have inside of Windows Azure, you could have hundreds of services, hundreds of virtual machines, right? There could be a lot there, and you don't want to unnecessarily overwhelm Operations Manager for a lot of stuff you don't care about. So you need to specify what it is that you want to monitor. After you do that, now is where you start to get some data, right? If we go into the Windows Azure resource inventory, we can see a lot of different things. What are the cloud services that are discovered, right? We can see which ones are monitored and which ones aren't. Which are the discovered virtual machines that we want to utilize. And the really interesting things can be, like if we look at let's say our role service of this Cloud Shop app that I deployed earlier, right? If I double click on this, we can see the health of that particular object. We can also see the state change events for that particular object, right, over time. In this case, we can see that, at various times here, what the status was, and if we click on any one of those, we can get more information on what was happening there. Furthermore, here's where the power really comes into play, is if we right-click on the Cloud Shop Health and we go to the monitor properties, all right? Once we're in here, we have a lot of different things, such as alerts, right? Do we want to generate alert for this particular monitor? We have also a diagnostic and recovery. And this is where, right, if something fails or whatever the particular conditions are that you want to monitor happen, you can do different things, right? For instance, run a script, run a command, right? Do whatever it is that you need to do in order to fix this problem. You know, send an email, you know, for alerts, or try to remedy the issue. Like, for instance, if my utilization is at 100% over a certain number of minutes, well, now I probably need to go in and deploy another role. Since I mentioned deploying another role, that is one other thing that you can do inside of Windows Azure. When we look at this Cloud Shop app, we notice that down here, we can see that, hey, we've got one role instance count, right? That was the one instance that
your circles are suddenly getting better.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Thing One Critique.
Sorry.
Mr. T ain't no excellent drawer, right? That's all right.
Whatever.
All right. Well, you got to use ain't in a.
You just couldn't help noticing.
Okay. Look at you. All right.
Trying to give you a compliment.
Well, thank you.
In a kind of sarcastic way.
In a sarcastic, twisted Thing One kind of way.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, what we can do is go down here and we can change the number of role instances, right? There is the ability. See, I draw that with the mouse. Do you like that? You like that? Okay. Change the number of role instances, and pretty quickly here, we can change the role instant count to override it. We can say we want the new value to be, I don't know, 3. Override, run it. And now what it's going to do is going to deploy 3 instances of that same Cloud Shop app talking to Windows Azure. So there you can see, hey, we started this, and in a minute here I'll come back to my Windows Azure console, and we'll see. It's usually not extremely fast on the console to update. Remember, it's calling those APIs. But it's going to start to deploy the instances inside of Windows Azure, right? And we'll come back to this to see that in action, right? It says, hey, it worked, and soon we'll see that in the console. Okay, so that is a bit about the management pack for Windows Azure and System Center Operations Manager.
2012.
2012 SP1.
Yep.
And what we want to, there's one other thing I want to show really quick is the global service monitor. Right?
Yeah, do it.
And let's do that, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome.
Okay.
And a lot of this is just like the good thing about System Center Operations Manager 2012 SP1 is it's the same System Center Operations Manager 2012 SP1 as you're using on premises as well. So all of the skills you already have for managing infrastructure and through the management pack, the applications as well, are going to apply directly to Windows Azure. So it's great. Nothing new to learn there.
There we go. Check. Got it done.
Awesome.
Just add the management pack and I'm good to go. If we want to switch back to my demo machine, I'm going to quickly go through a couple other things. One is this global service monitor. You install that management pack. This also has the same type of thing as far as updating, the connection to your subscription. It is a little bit different in the UI and how that works, but you connect those two together. Then you configure the application availability tests, and in this case, right, I want to do web application availability monitoring. Right, I'd select. Usually you want to do a new management pack every time you do this. I've already done that. I'll click cancel. And we have the same types of abilities inside of here to monitor things as far as the overall infrastructure of alerts and properties and things like that. The big difference here with GSM is that you're getting Windows Azure to come back in and test out all of these different endpoints, right? And the ability to connect that to Visual Studio and get more in-depth information that way, right? So if we go into this, this web test, we can have some entity information there. We can also check the test state. So when we look at this detailed view here, you can see what is we're choosing things from Japan, Zurich. You get a number of different options over what you would have with just the Windows Azure Management Console. You can choose really as many as you really want to do here, right? You've got a lot more limits there. And then also, right, naturally you have the ability, just like you see the same dialog box we had before, right? It looks very familiar to what you saw with Windows Azure, is you have the ability here to click Properties, Monitor Properties, and then you have those same diagnostic and recovery alerts and tasks that you can execute based upon that data coming into your environment. Last but not least, we have this, this ability for the connection to System Center Advisor. And I'm not going to really dive into System Center Advisor much, but I want to just show you how the fact that it is also inside of Operations Manager, you can have that same view, a single console to look at information here. And I want to end on the advisor slides that I have up here, so you have a bit of an idea of what that's all about. I'm not going to read all this, but
no, you should.
Yeah,
okay.
No, not going to do that. No, it is a free service, and it runs on Windows Azure under the hood. Now, there's nothing that you're going to look at it and when you sign up and say, "Oh my gosh, this is Windows Azure," right? It's a totally different portal, but the guts of it is running on Azure. And the big thing here is that it allows you to proactively fix things that it knows from a lot of the intelligence that we have. Operations Manager is more on the side of, I'd say, reactive in general, but it doesn't have, in some cases, as much knowledge as the System Center Advisor. So Advisor is kind of another tool in your tool shed, right?
Because we don't have boxes anymore.
That's
we have whole sheds.
That's right. We have sheds and boxes and puzzles and Legos and Minecraft worlds, right? All for you.
To advertise on the show, please call 0800-524-4431.
Okay, all right.
Someone's getting cranky calls now.
Yes.
We'll just edit that out.
Yeah. So quickly how it works, you have these agents on the machines. This could be also your virtual machines, although here we have private network. That data then gets pulled up into this database, and that data gets analyzed from our the cloud service that runs in Windows Azure, and we have the knowledge of the product team's support, and you as the end user can go into that web portal or into Operations Manager to be more proactive in fixing issues that you might have. I have some URLs on there because if you want to see a demo, you want to see an interview with the product manager, go there, and that will help you out. And with that, I think we are wrapped up on the monitoring, and we're going to pause for you.
Pause.
Pause.